satisfaction numbers were kind of low about the number of jobs created was. There was a specific question about are my local companies growing jobs with good wages and benefits, and that number was a little bit lower than it had been before. Charlie, from the economist standpoint, how much do you pay attention to the personal income numbers in terms of economic health of a state or region? Because Michigan, which used to be considered a pretty high wage, high benefit state, is now well below the national average. And where are we moving there, and how important is that?
Well, I pay a lot of attention to personal income. I think there's probably no better single measure of the economic health of the state than its per capita personal income. And back in the 70s, in some years, we were in the top 10. As recently as 2004, we were number 21 among out of the 50 states. Then we fell to 40th. We since crept back to about 35th and 36th in recent years. So that's, it's good to be headed in the right direction. It's good that we fell below Tennessee and now we're above Tennessee again. But, we have taken a hit. There's no question about it. But the other thing that I worry about is that the growth that there has been, and this is really not just in the last decade, but in the last 40 years, so much of the growth has been in income, has been concentrated at the upper level. That's different from what happened in the 3 decades right after the Second World War. In those 3 decades, the rich got richer, the poor got richer, the middle class got richer, everybody got richer. Since the late 1970s, the growth has been very disproportionately pushed toward the very top of the income scale. And what that means is, one of my factoids for that is, the U.S. economy is more than twice as big as it was when I was in college, which was in the 70s. But if you take the median man who works full-time year-round, and you adjust for inflation, that man earns less now than in 1973. So it's not just the average. That's what per capita income is. It's an average. You take all the dollars and you divide by the number of people. I'd like to have a high average, but I'd also like to have it distributed such that it's not just the folks at the top who are doing well. And both of those are concerns, and I think those both get back to education, which is what I think is the number one challenge that we face. We talk about all these high-tech changes. Who's going to design and implement them? It's people with engineering skills. None of those is going to be a high school dropout. And so we in Michigan face challenges from cradle to career, from preschool to PhD, in terms of getting our folks to have the skills that they need. I think in many ways we are victims of the fabulous success of the 1950s, when it really was true that people of fairly modest education and skill could go to work at Fisher Body, and they could have a four-bedroom house and 2 cars and a boat and a cottage at the lake. And that was great. But the world has changed a whole lot since then, and we've been a little bit slow to respond to it.